Hi, welcome to the fourth episode of the Advocacy Update with Toni Labbate. I'm with Equal First Aid. I wanted to first thank my sponsors, LifeVac and TLC Companions, and of course, I would like to thank my viewers for taking the time to sit and view us today. First, I'd like to welcome Erin Boren. Erin has become not only my friend, but she is an advocate, she's a mom, she's a former firefighter, and I'm so excited to have a show with Erin because we have such an amazing update today. Hi, Erin.
Hi, good morning.
Good
Or is it
morning.
afternoon? Nope, it's still morning.
Yeah, it's still morning. Thank you so much for joining. I know that we've talked forever, and
Right.
we've become friendly, and it's just so great to see you. I want to tell our viewers exactly what's happening and how we met in Texas.
Oh yeah, what a great story, huh? So, yeah, we do have a wild history. Um, Really just how it all came together, I'll always be so grateful for. I know both of us met Art through totally different ways and totally different states, and managed to merge us together. So, gosh, where we are now with this journey, I couldn't have done this without you. And
So you were introduced to LifeVac, and then
yeah,
somehow I got in that circle and was introduced to you. Can you tell me again why, what's so important about the LifeVac, the airway clearance device, how you got involved?
yes, that was a keynote, wasn't it? So unfortunately, being a mom and having these threats around every corner, choking wasn't on my immediate radar until we had an almost choking incident. Um, which led to me researching Heimlich and figuring out how to do it. And I'm telling you, it had to be a week after I watched the video. My daughter, who was only about probably 2 at the time, got a hold of the quarter. I don't know to what extent the choking emergency was at that moment. I just know I had to perform Heimlich on her and do the back thrust and get this quarter out. Um, Fast forward only a couple months from that moment, I'm feeling real big and strong about this Heimlich, that I have it down. Um, and my stepson was on a computer playing a game, eating a hot dog, and the hot dog got lodged in his throat. And this
Wow.
was a definite choking emergency at that point. So I did try to perform Heimlich, and it was inefficient and effective, whatever word you'd like to put there. And luckily, I had help, and big, strong men came over and were able to dislodge that. But I knew at that moment when adrenaline is going through you at that atrocity, it's just,
And you're trained also,
I
right?
am trained,
Right.
yes, to do this. So you feel a lot of confidence in that, if anything happens. And at that moment, yeah, it wasn't effective. So, well, the first moment, the second one, yes, but not for me personally, because again, of that surge of adrenaline. When it's a different child or a different person, maybe not related to you. And I think a lot of people forget that. They just assume right away, well, I'm trying to do this, I can do this, but they don't think of how they're going to physically or mentally react to the fear of their own. And so for me, I knew I needed backup. Behind like wasn't going to be it. I looked up, choking devices, and guess what? It came life back. So, how from that point to actually meeting Art, I have no
Right.
idea.
I'm so thankful that both your children were saved. So
Yes.
so you got the scare, and then you kind of reached out to see how you could prevent this from happening.
Yes.
And then from there, I remember meeting you, on Facebook. And as you know, the mission of Equal First Aid is to get airway clearance devices across the United States. So you and I then, and I still laugh about it today, because we reached out to your representative, Cody Vasud, and you gave me his phone number. We were texting, we were three-way calling, and he was going to put the bill in. And from what I'm remembering, it was very slow going, and it was a little bit slow until it became a priority for him. And then we did get the call that, hey, this is now a priority for me. We are going to put this bill in. And now from there, as you know, for the past couple weeks, we've been going nuts with
Waiting and hoping. And
yeah, and I'm actually proud to say that we have several bills have passed the House or the Senate, but never both. So I'm proud to say that Equal First Aid, and with the help of you and all our advocates, were able to get the House Bill 549 in Texas passed, and then it went to the Senate. And of course, pit in my stomach, is it going to pass again? Are they going to accept it? When will they accept it? It did go to the Senate, and they passed it last minute.
yeah,
So
and even that was a little bit of a whirlwind.
That
with the
was.
miscommunication and
So that was because Google has said, because I was right on it for hours and hours and all through the night, and Google had said it passed. And then when I reached the representative, I said, hey, wait a minute, online is showing that it passed. He said, unfortunately, it did not. There was a breakdown of communication. But as you can see on our screen there, we have 7 stages. So we've gone through 5 of them. The governor does have that bill as of Monday. So we are just hoping. So because it was such a last minute bill, I did reach out to the representative yesterday, because I was just tired of guessing. And he said because it was a late bill, we're probably going to be closer to the end. Yeah, we have until June 22nd. So we have to hope that, Texas is the first state that would allow airway clearance devices in their schools, where I'm hoping eventually to get it in every disability community. We have a councilwoman here in New York City that, if she's reelected, is going to mandate it in all restaurants also. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. But
that was one of the first things that some of my family members said was, gosh, I wish this could be in restaurants as well. Can you imagine?
So that we'll keep going forward. I mean, just because the governor, there's 3 options. He can veto it, which I believe that we have the majority voting now. So I'm hoping that can be overruled. He can do nothing, and then it becomes a law, or he can sign it. So we will all know by June 22nd. From there, again, that's not the end. We will then continue to advocate for every restaurant and every disability community. So,
and that's been my secondary element to my advocacy, has been having a son with special needs.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a double layer of heart and passion to help.
Close to your heart. And, we need people like you who you've been through it. You've seen the panic. You've witnessed it. So to have just a backup option to be in place is a necessary tool.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, so after that, we have a lot of work ahead of us, but I do want to hear a little bit more about you, because you are my idol. You're an inspiration. You are a former firefighter, volunteer firefighter, but you're doing amazing things. I just saw this morning that you guys are raising awareness for the Bach community. Can you tell me a little bit about that? And I know that you and I were going to attend the gala last year, but I believe you guys had some bad weather, or that was the year before. But please tell me a little bit about them.
Yeah, so Bach is an amazing organization, and they were actually the first stop for us when we found out that our son was special needs. It's a very confusing place. You don't know where to start. You don't know where to go. And one thing I've noticed, at least in our circumstances, is the pediatricians aren't super helpful either. So you kind of have to navigate, what do I do next on your own? So Bach was actually referred to us. Um, and it's a program that offers for different age. They have different age groups. I think they start as early as probably 12 months, and then go up to a certain age. And then they have Buster's Kids, which is part of the same under the same umbrella as Bach, but it's for children a little bit older. And I think that might start at 5. And so gosh, yeah, my son was able to get therapy. They were able to do in home with him. And then from that point, they were able to get us nestled into these schools so he could have early intervention education.
Very nice.
So they're very near and dear to our heart. And they have a lot of different fundraisers that they do annually. They've gotten very creative. It's very hard not to buy tickets to everything.
Right.
But yeah, they're definitely near and dear to our heart. And right now, they're looking for just a few items. They're not break the bank things. I think they have some bubbles, some little sensory knickknacks, and things like that right now that they're looking for a few donors to get on their Amazon wish list.
Yeah, so just this morning I saw that, and I thought that was really great because I do know that we had all the plans to fly to Texas. We were going to do our whole big gala, et cetera. I know that you also did great advocacy there, and we shipped everything to you, and then unfortunately you guys had the hurricane, so we'll get there.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
You know
we'll
what,
get there
just
with that
now
box, and the box came back, and
Yes,
so
I
you
know.
had
Now you're clicking my memory
yeah.
about the storm you're talking about. Yes, that's right. So I guess that would have been the school bash last
that
July.
was, yeah.
And yes, we
And then
had
back it
barrels that
came.
through.
So with our fingers crossed, and over the next couple of weeks, maybe I can come down in person and meet you in person. But I was excited too to see that Amazon wish list. So I also, if any of the viewers, we'll put up your information later, but if it becomes difficult and you want to just Venmo me, I will then make sure that Erin gets the money and we could purchase something off those wish lists. So I'm happy to do that too.
They're lovely people. Yes, they're serving. And just to add, for the amount of children with disabilities in our area, it's really one of the only organizations that can do the kind of an all-in-one stop. They have the speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. So they're offering so much, and they also are able to help people who don't have insurance and things of that nature. So really, truly, it's an organization worth helping. That's all I can say about that.
If a parent, a new parent, or newly diagnosed child, and they don't know where to turn, is that the community that they would turn to
100%.
get resources and guidance?
Oh, 100%, 100%, yes.
That's amazing. Yeah,
And they've been also so great about allowing us to set up, life back booths and give them away. They've always thought they were a great thing. They were one of the first places that wasn't a school, actually, that I donated one to from, thanks to Art, and get one in their hands. And it was because they had hot dogs on the menu. And I went,
Wow.
I got to get them a life back.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Trigger.
Definitely. And as we know, it's not just food, right? That we need airway clearance devices for any objects. There's so many. I was just speaking on a Zoom call the other day with Heidi from LifeVac, and she had mentioned that there's over 370 objects that have now been dislodged. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so people think, I've had somebody come up to me at one of my first events, a Down syndrome event, and he said, I'm 44 years old. I know how to chew my food. And I was like, it's not about that. It could be anything. Or you could save your neighbor.
People don't even realize that gum has been one that's happened to someone that I know personally, gum, of all things.
Yeah.
But even something as silly as your own saliva has gotten people caught up when they're chewing something else, like a peppermint. They get something down the wrong tube, and all of a sudden, it's never going to affect anybody until it does. That's always the way it is.
And the other thing too is, like, we hear the statistics that 5,000 people each year die from choking. But I met with a fireman's wife the other day, and I'm sure you can agree to this too. She said that every day on their transmitter, I'm not sure what you guys call them now, but every single day she hears that transmitter go off, and there is a choking every single day in their district. so
Yeah.
that it's constant. So
That's incredible. And
these
for
are,
us, we have our agencies are separated, so to speak. So we have our paid city volunteer, or pardon, paid city and volunteer firefighters. And then in a totally different capacity is our um, paramedics. And they are also volunteer and paid. So we don't really run a whole lot of medical calls on the fire side here, but they have done extraordinary things with Life Act. So just recently, they did a Union Pacific grant, I believe it was, and they were able to purchase Life Acts with those and distribute them to schools.
that's amazing, and all your advocacy too. And you've donated plenty. I believe
Well,
it's,
they've got two now.
but
What's the harm in having more than one?
yeah, but I know that Cody Vasut, the representative, had mentioned you with you were the original person donating Life Act. So we thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm just happy, to see them being spoke about and distributed. And again, when I joke about, hey, there's two at the school, what's the harm? It's great because they've got one in the cafeteria, the nurse has one. You never know, right, where it's going to happen.
Right.
And then some of our campuses are rather large, so the amount of time it would take one person to get there, or the nurse is already somewhere else, maybe check on child, it's just great. So the more,
Yeah.
the merrier.
So it's funny that you say that. We've come across where nurses don't want to have these in the schools because there is not a school nurse in the building at that time. That just blows my mind, because that's all the more reason to have airway clearance devices in schools if you have no school nurse. So I always say, whoever is responsible for those children, whether they fall off the slide and break their leg, whatever it is going to be, should be trained and should have a life hack or airway clearance device. So
I'm still kind of processing what you just said to me, because that's going to be the most, in my opinion, besides a boo-boo on the knee or a
Yeah.
bloody nose or
Yeah.
something, the second most common thing I would find you'd run into at a school is going to be choking.
yeah,
I mean, just within my own home, right? I had a little tiny rubber band that was like for little girls, the little tiny rubber bands. That was the first thing that got as an irritant, so to speak, that I was worried could turn into choking. And then the second thing, a quarter. The third thing, food. And then I told you the other day, I believe it was, we were at a softball game, and my son was eating nachos and started doing this. And I'm, of course, I
no.
have my life back with me, right? And I'll tell you, look, I'm gonna prove to everybody, right? Not stage. Here's my mama softball bag, okay?
Nice. Very nice.
Right? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a sales pitch,
Yeah.
I was able to hold that up though to the bleachers and go, it's okay, because
Do we
he
need
cleared
it?
his own. I'm like, it's all right. I had a life back, and all of you should too. And
Yeah,
these are like family to us at this
yeah.
point. But I'm using that opportunity really because my stomach dropped at that moment. But wait,
Yeah.
I have something,
You have,
and if this doesn't work, this will work. And it's just a part of our lives at this point. Even
Yeah.
my children.
Yeah.
They're
And
like, Mom, do we have the life tag? When we're going out of town or we're going to the movies, so it's become a part of our life.
yeah. And it should be everywhere. We also had in New Jersey, we testified, I believe it was March 17th. I'm not sure the exact date, but advocates, myself, Maverick's Legacy, we advocated. But before our bill was heard, there was another bill right before us. Heartbreaking. The woman had two disabled children in wheelchairs. One of them had passed away from choking. She was there because he choked on the bus, and they brought him back unresponsive to the family's home. So that was the bill, and that was just horrible. So again, we have to get these, again, not only in schools, but on buses, transportation, everywhere where there's going to be food or just protection.
It's unfortunate how many of these bills are taking on the name of a child,
Right.
even here in Texas.
So yes. So you, yeah, do you want to go ahead and touch on
Well, I was
that?
going to say, actually, you had, I think, the privilege of working more closely with
Yeah.
the family.
Yep. So the Weston Mandrell Foundation, she also had testified on the first hearing, and that hearing went very long, actually. But she did testify, and they lost their grandson due to choking. So that bill is named after Weston Mandrell. So very, very excited for the family that his legacy will live on. We're working in New Jersey. The New Jersey bill, of course, is already written, but if it has to be reintroduced, we would love to see that also, Maverick's legacy, in memory
And
of
it's
Maverick.
hard for me to fathom how anyone could hear these stories and think of the simplicity of this device. It's not, we're not talking about something where it shouldn't really anyway be muddied,
Right.
right? With monetary things or some sort of, some things that people try to change, right? There's there's so much red tape.
Yeah.
And some of those reasons are great reasons. Don't want to get too much into the politics of it, but this is life saving.
Right.
This should be so much simpler. And why are we battling this? And that would be my hope, is that as with time and with awareness and with advocacy, we can get to a point where people aren't scared to have a secondary option to save a life.
Right. Well, we also read, and we do have states that it is all about the money. And as you know, the story with Artie, when he went to Wisconsin, they questioned what kind of discount, what kind of sale would we get. But Texas, I mean, it has to be signed by the governor, because that bill reads, devices can be donated. So we're not asking any school, anybody to have a monetary burden. We're not asking for that. Let's do a fundraiser. Let's donate. I'm sure parents would just donate to their schools. So that's one good thing. So we're not asking.
And of course, it's always going to bring up the question of, for $79.95, for example, or $69.95, right? Whatever you're working with, versus a lawsuit.
Right. Which we only.
Which would you prefer, right?
And we only find out about the lawsuits about 5-6 years after they're already done. And this is what's happening in Maryland in 2019. So now I'm in contact with a family who it's already been all these years that their son died, 17-year-old, would have been saved 100% if they had a LifeAct device. And that's only coming to light now in Maryland, and that's years and years old. So of course, we're not going to hear about, if we don't hear about it, people think, oh, it doesn't happen. But it's happening. It's happening all the time. There's lawsuits.
All the time.
Yeah. So
and that was even, I think I shared with you with my daughter. She said, have children died in school from choking? And I said, honey, just a quick Google search. And of course, we didn't get into detail. I just kind of did a scroll.
Right.
And it kept going and going and going. And this was just Texas, one state.
Yeah. And we have it where there's all the recent, I mean, some of our advocates are recent families that within the past year and a half have lost their child, in school. So we're working with everyone. What I do ask is, all we do ask is that people reach out to their representatives and just ask if they would sponsor a bill for airway clearance devices, similar to the other states. I mean, viewers can always get me at equalfirstaid.com, and I could just guide you, because we need to get this across the United States. We are currently now in 11 states with 12 pending bills. So I'm hoping that within the next 2 weeks that I could bring you back, that we could share the good news with Texas.
Oh, I hope
because
so.
that would be ideal.
And I do hope that, maybe if our governor hadn't considered it before, that when he looks at it and he thinks about it and maybe looks it up, he'll see how it could help him as well. It can help save his life.
Sure, because of course, we advocate for all children. And here's the other thing too. It's not just the children, it's the staff. As we know, nurses have saved teachers already. It's documented, it's in the data. So being that Governor Abbott is in a wheelchair, he, I hope, knows that there is no other rescue option to save him should he choke.
Exactly.
So this is a wonderful, wonderful life-saving bill. It's not going to be a burden to anybody. So again, I'm hoping that this will be our first state and that all states just follow after.
And you would think so, because, right, we're such a heavy hitting state. That's kind of been why I didn't think it would be
Yeah.
this smooth. And I'm going to pray and hope and everything else, rub the belly of Buddha, whatever it takes, you know,
Yeah.
and
from-
hope that this gets through.
And from
You
the
know, I
people, from the people I've spoke to, in Texas, I believe that your representatives and your governor are all about the children and the education. So this I believe is going to be a big life-saving device. And
Well, you know, we'll definitely be waiting and waiting
Yeah.
and waiting and waiting.
Yeah,
See
well,
it done.
we have until June 22nd, so
The long stretch to wait.
I'm like, okay, I could take a break for a little bit. So speaking of break, I think we're going to take a little pause, show you the commercials for my sponsors, and we'll be right back with you and share what's up and coming for Erin.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm sorry to bother you, but I have 30 seconds to give you a very important message. My name is Arthur Lee. I'm the CEO and inventor of LifeVac, a simple choking rescue device that could save a life in a choking emergency. We've saved over 3,000 lives now, but we're not there. 5,000 people a year choke to death, one child every 5 days. Please consider protecting your family in a choking emergency with LifeVac. Go to lifevac.net today. Thank you for your time.
Welcome back. I want to say thank you again to our sponsors who allow this platform for me to share our updates with Equal First Aid. Thank you to LifeVac and TLC Companions. Thank you, of course, to my viewers who are taking the time to learn about the mission of Equal First Aid and how you're able to help. Of course, I have Erin Boren back, and I want to share with you guys how...
Another round of applause.
Yeah. Thank you again. And, you know, I thank you for your time. I do want to ask, I know that you mentioned that your son has autism, and I know that a lot of times there's not too many programs or inclusion for children with disabilities, but you did tell me that something was coming from the bottom of your heart. So I want to know what's on your agenda next.
On the agenda, yes. So I believe most parents with autism's biggest fear is drowning. And probably 2 years now. I mean, it's been definitely longer, but in the last 2 years specifically, there's been, I'm finding these waves, it feels like, where there's losses. Missing child with autism, the update is they're deceased. And when these waves are coming, you're talking about, you know, 8 children, 9 children in like a 2-week period. And the first wave hit, and I'm like, I've got to do something. I got to do something. And as you know, sometimes with advocating and charitable work, it is exhausting. It's tiring. It's a lot. And we don't always have the time to do what we want to do when we want to do it. Here comes the second wave, not that long ago. And I was like, okay, that's enough. I've got to do something. And just as you've had the experience of you went after something in one area that was close to home, and then it was able, you know, to spread from there. So that's my hope with this. And what it will be is a charity that provides the monetary element of swim lessons for children with disabilities. It will not be strictly autistic, any child with disability, and also adults. And from there, what happened, I'm so happy it happened before all the paperwork's done, right? Is I heard from my local city parks and recreation department that the instructors really didn't have training in dealing with special needs children or adults. And I'm going, well, gosh, I guess I better add some extra layers here and go ahead and offer training because I can't pay necessarily right for lessons if there's nobody to teach them. So that is the mission now. I'm still finding the time to get all of those ducks in a row.
You will.
But I'm very excited. We do have a name. It'll be Swimming Penguins.
Oh, amazing.
In our area, penguins have just by chance continued to be represented by a penguin. I'm telling you, one of them is a national, has nothing to do with us locally, and it is Penguin Project. It is a theater organization. They're fantastic. And then we have Purple Penguins, which is our softball team for specials. And I'm like, hey, if you hear penguins around here, that's the first thing you think of. So let's kind of integrate that into this.
Beautiful.
So I'm so excited for that. I look forward to it.
And what's so inspiring about you, before the conversation came up of the swim lessons for children with disabilities, we know each other. It's got to be almost 2 years now, but initially one of our conversations were you were part of, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, a rescue or a search and rescue
Yes.
for a child that with autism that was missing.
Yes. Unfortunately, I was on two of those, and the two different search missions, essentially, for children with autism, and both of them had the same outcome. They were deceased. So by the second mission, I actually had a canine. I had taught him, we were doing lifeline. They were so desperate for a dog at this point, canine formally, that they said, come on out. We don't even care if he's fully trained, just any extra help is good.
Wow.
And he did indicate on a retention pond by the apartment. It was not what I taught him at the time for life.
Wow.
And I had another officer, an officer with me, and she was a canine handler as well. She said, what's your dog's alert? I said, not that. He's supposed to sit and bark and do the traditional things you'll see a canine do. My dog was rolling in the grass. He was like biting the grass. He was jumping on me. I mean, just very out of control behavior, really, for him. So they did send divers there. Nothing was found. We did a lot of searching. Anyway, by that next morning, because of course, as traditionally happens, you pack up and go home for the night. You start to search the next morning. I was alerted that following morning, he was found. It was fishermen actually who found him, unfortunately. And the police officer I was with, she said, hey, just want to let you know, you might want to switch from lifeline to cadaver, because where he indicated was a retention pipe, and that retention pipe was connected, it was like a PVC pipe that connected to both retention ponds that were like maybe 100 yards away from each other. And that's where he was found. He was up against that pipe on the secondary retention. So we went cadaver. He picked that up very quickly, and he did pass away in 22. But forever my hero, that dog is.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, it's incredible, and I know that it's not easy to go through this, but for what's going to come of, again, their legacy in memory of these children, preventative, whether it's preventing choking and swim lessons, or however we can all come together, communities. I mean, I know we're far away, but we can still be connected and join forces and save lives in many different ways.
And that's just it. When you're in a circumstance that allows you in a very unfortunate way to kind of look at death every day, that might be in different forms, but it's a constant reminder of, if you can stop this, and this way, or that way, then you're going to do that. There's a lot of ways they're completely out of our control, but for the small ways, significant but small ways that we can, like swim lessons, like an anti-choking device, we're eliminating some of those threats against, our families, our loved ones, our community.
And raising awareness, because, you know, honestly, before meeting you, and before that first story when we first met, you know, I never really thought of, you know, children with autism really needing swim lessons. You know, you just don't think of it unless you're in it. So, you know, I thank you for bringing awareness to that. I thank you for everything that you're doing in Texas. Like I said, you are just an inspiration. I'm honored to know you. I'm honored to work beside you, and we will make a difference. I know that we will put up later on your information too, to see how the viewers can help you. Reach out to me, and I will definitely get information back to you regarding that Amazon wish list or regarding funds for swim lessons.
And I appreciate that so much. I appreciate you having me here on this platform and sharing your time with me as well,
Of
and our
course.
friendship and
Thank
all
you.
the great things we have planned moving
Yes,
forward.
we're moving forward, and this is not the end, because I'm hoping that in the next couple weeks we have another great update. Erin, thank you for everything today.
Thank you, Toni. Appreciate it.
Take care.
You too.